to episode 6 of WIS Sports Radio's Ruck On, the Rugby Show. We're into the home stretch with the World Cup less than 4 months away. I'm Maria Sampson, Rugby World Cup silver medalist, recording out of Calgary, Alberta. Joining me again is two-time World Cup veteran and fellow silver medalist, Kim Nelson. Good to have you back, Kim.
Happy to be here, MJ.
Awesome. So what's been going on in your life?
Victoria finally saw some spring, so I'm happy about that. Cherry blossoms are everywhere. That's great. In terms of rugby, the Can-Ams were very exciting to watch, a bit of North American competition. As you know, Canada versus the U.S., bit of a rivalry, obviously, so that was very exciting. And then just kind of, getting ready for the summer to hit us.
Awesome. And that's a perfect segue to what we'll be talking about today. As you mentioned, the Can-Am series that occurred very recently, as well as the decider game in the Six Nations, which happened in mid-March. We're going to talk about USA Rugby legend Phaedra Knight, as well as the upcoming Four Nations June series that's going to be taking place down in New Zealand. So first up, the thing that happened what seems like so long ago, almost a month ago now, is the decider game in the Six Nations. March 17th, came to a close with England taking the crown on the final day with a 34-7 win over Ireland. The victory for England as the reigning world championships basically ensures them that they clinched their Six Nations title the first time since 2012. So with the Red Roses being a professional side now, I'm predicting that they're going to continue to pull away from their Six Nations counterparts.
Yeah, England has really seemed to have gotten organized in the last couple of years. And their depth is just unmatchable right now. I think instead of having, like a top 15 or top 20, I'd say they have a good top 35 or 40. I've seen athletes in the under 20 program as well. Last couple of summers I've had the opportunity to work with the Canada under 20 team. We played against England last year, and there were several of those athletes who had already been capped many times. So they're starting to get athletes in a little bit younger, getting a taste for that competition, getting a little bit more experience. So when it comes to crunch time, like the Six Nations final, there's really a seamless transition.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with you there. England coming out on top of the Six Nations, like you said, with their incredible amount of depth. Ireland finishing second. They've been working very hard since the last World Cup and even before that to run themselves as a unit. France is always a strong contender, followed by Scotland, Wales, and Italy were the bottom three of this year's Six Nations. One thing that happened, which is pretty incredible, is there was records attendance for home women's Six Nations game were broken in Ireland, Italy, Scotland, and Wales, with France recording their second biggest crowd. So going through some of the attendance numbers, the two highest attendance games were both in France, one with over 10,000 people, France versus Scotland, and the other almost hitting 9,000 in France versus Wales. What does that say about the women's game, Kimmy?
Well, super exciting, looking forward to the World Cup. As you know, the last World Cup in France drew fans from those surrounding countries. So fans from Wales, fans from England, fans from obviously the entire kingdom. So having the World Cup in one of those Six Nations and looking at these numbers, I'm just really excited for the atmosphere that athletes will be able to participate in the World Cup this summer.
Yeah, I think it gives me goosebumps personally thinking about playing in France in the semifinal in Jean Bouin Stadium in front of 20,000 people. And so I know there's going to be record crowds at this coming World Cup in August. And I'm predicting pretty much a sellout for every single game, similar to what we had in 2014.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to have that turnout similar to what you were talking about for even those earlier games.
A little bit closer to home, the Can-Am series. Canada's women's 15 team captured the Can-Am series title after 2 wins against the USA. First one being 39-5 and the second one 37-10. Both games played at the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center in San Diego, California.
Yeah, well, as you know, I was pretty heavily invested in this competition. It is a favorite of mine. I've had the opportunity to play against the United States many many times, and sometimes on the winning side, sometimes on the losing side. What was exciting was that if Canada won both of these games, then they would break even over all the games that they'd had against each other. They managed to do that. So Canada and the U.S. are now tied in their competition versus each other. And the competition itself, both teams are very, very physical. And just seeing the competition at the breakdown is pretty exciting. And obviously both teams are trying to fine-tune their skill set for the World Cup this summer.
And from another historical perspective, this is the 30th year anniversary of women's rugby in North America, with Canada and the U.S. having played back in November of 1987. So pretty exciting there to think of how far we've come. And on the Canadian women's side, moving to a place where they're going to get match test fees being paid to them versus having to come out pay. So that's a big deal coming from the Canadian Rugby Union.
Absolutely right. So like you said, this last tour, the first time that female rugby players have been paid for the 15 size, have been paid for tour and then game selection as well. Pretty exciting. It's been a long road. I'm very, very happy for those athletes.
Speaking of exciting, you have a new blog called The Offload. Tell us about it.
That is exciting, Maria. Well, so far I just got started for that Can-Am series, so I covered both of those games. So just speaking a little bit about the history of those games and then what both teams are kind of working on and what they'll need to work towards for the World Cup. Well, I'll be updating that on at least a monthly basis, just talking about different aspects of the women's game. Definitely focusing on the World Cup as we get a little closer to that, just what kind of preparation some teams are doing, and then maybe just some of the issues that those athletes may be facing.
Awesome. And one thing that I'd like to mention today and talk about a player is a U.S. player named Knight, and Phaedra was named the USA Rugby Player of the Decade in 2010. She obtained her first cap in 1999. She is 42 years old, and she played in both games, of the Can-Am series. And when I watched the second game against the U.S., we were sitting at the Rugby Canada Board of Directors, sitting with Arabatinto, who goes by Rue, and she blew up when she saw Phaedra on the field, thinking about the times back when she had played Phaedra kind of as a young pup, and some incredible memories from Phaedra. Phaedra is kind of, for a very long time, was the heart and soul of the U.S. team, and she's trying to make the 2017 World Cup, this time at hooker. She's moved from flanker, so you know all about the learning curve there to go to a hooker position. And she's also just joined the USA Rugby Board of Directors. So she's a huge advocate for women's rights from a sport equality perspective. And so I just want to give her a shout out, having seen her play and having learned of her recent board appointment.
Well, Maria, I have to tell you, I had a very similar reaction to Rue. I thought maybe they got the name wrong. I thought maybe they had their information confused. To see Phaedra Knight come out of the woodworks, I mean, is very, very exciting for her. But also for the USA side, I actually think some need right now. They don't have a ton of experience. If you had a look at their lineup, they have a lot of kind of first, second, third, fourth, fifth caps. So not a lot of experience moving into the World Cup, and having someone like Phaedra come onto the squad and just be able to provide a little bit more leadership, I think will be very beneficial for them. Phaedra's also a speaker. She's had lots of a variety of experiences. She was an actress for a while. So a lot of confidence with Phaedra, and like I said, I think the Eagle side can really benefit from that.
Excellent points. And she could be, if selected, going for her fourth World Cup, having attended the World Cup in 2002, 2006, and 2010. In the lead up to our own World Cup for women's 15s this August in Ireland, there's going to be a June series in New Zealand that's going to be comprised of World Cup defending champions, World Cup runners-up, Canada, currently number 1 ranked New Zealand, and Australia, currently number 1 on the 7 series side. So pretty exciting group of 4 there. Calling it the International Women's Rugby Series. Very original name, but it's taking place June 9th, 13th, and 17th.
Yeah, and Maria, can we just talk about how the game's kind of changed over the last, I'm going to say, decade? Like, I remember in the 2010 World Cup, there was a bit more, I'm going to say, fear moving into the World Cup and just kind of protecting athletes and just making sure that they weren't to be injured leading up to that World Cup. And now with these games, obviously very, very competitive games, just weeks before the World Cup, it's a bit of a different atmosphere. It's more assertive and fearless, I want to say. And I think it's going to help heighten the level of play at the World Cup. I think it's a really exciting time.
I have to completely agree with you, Kimmy. It's this idea of, you're going to get better by playing more rugby and increasing your depth, seeing how you're going to play under pressure situations. Sure, players can be excellent practice players, but get them on the pitch with some opposition and things can be different. So it's a perfect lead up. 2 games that I'm probably most excited about are obviously Black Ferns versus Canada. That's June 9th in Wellington. And then I'm also excited to see Black Ferns versus England on June 17th, kind of to close out the series. So it's going to be exciting. It'll be interesting to see how Australia does. They're probably going to have a similar team make the USA in terms of less experienced 15s players, but a lot of their 7s players do want to play in the 15s World Cup. It's just whether they get a chance to or not.
Yeah, and do you know where those players are at in terms of making progress onto the 15s team?
So my understanding from the Australia is the focus is currently on the 7s, and then that's going to be kind of shoring up quickly and then hopefully made available for the June series. But if you look at the New Zealand Black Ferns long list of players that they have for the World Cup, they have a whole cohort of 7s players. And actually interesting, I forgot to mention, was Winiata, which I'm losing her first name right now, but she's been practicing with one of the men's Super Rugby teams to kind of get better playing fullback for the Ferns, because she recently unfortunately got dropped from the 7s team, and she really wanted to make a push for the 15s squad and really best her chances to make that team.
Wow, good for her. I haven't heard of that happening so much for back positions, more forward positions, but that's really exciting. And the other thing that I wanted to say for this tournament, just Australia, not necessarily in the top 4, but I think that this competition will be able to put them further forward in their pool play in that World Cup.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. And they have a tough pool going in there with France, Ireland, and Japan. It's not going to be an easy pool. Lots of opportunities for both points, both winning and losing bonus points. Speaking of the World Cup, pool tickets are on sale. I would put money on the fact that these are going to sell out. You can head to rwcwomen's.com, so rugbyworldcupwomen's.com for tickets, with games being played on August 9th, 13th, and 17th, and the semifinals and finals August 22nd and 26th, respectively. To remind everyone, the pools are Pool A, Canada, New Zealand, Wales, and Hong Kong. Pool B, England, USA, Italy, and Spain. And Pool C, that pool that I'm looking forward to watching too in terms of plus and minuses, France, Ireland, Australia, and Japan. Chris is here now with news about other programs.
With more than 600 episodes across 20 different shows, Wisp Sports Radio covers every aspect of women's sports. Tune in to Locker Room Talk with Sarah and Kelly tackling the big issues of the day. The Sailing Show brings you the latest news of women racing in all classes around the world, thanks to our friends at the Magenta Project. And our Athlete Profile series features medal winners and extraordinary women who have made a difference in their sport. Subscribe to Wisp Sports Radio on iTunes so you can listen to the shows anywhere, or visit us at wispsports.com.
And that's it for this month's Ruck On. Thanks, Kim, for joining us one more time.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back next month with more on women's international rugby. In the meanwhile, be sure to visit wissports.com for a variety of conversations from the world of women's sports. Join us too on social media at @wissports, and I'm on Twitter at MariaSampson5, and Kimmy is there as well at Kimmy Donaldson. We'd love to hear what you think of the show, or if you have any questions, drop us a line to info@wissports.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.